This to me is not a partisan issue. Everyone wants their private data protected. And what we're seeing is these private companies are weaponizing this technology to go after innocent people.
That is Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Janulius not only talking about, but also fighting back against the weaponization of mass surveillance technology. And thank God someone is, because the only thing more disturbing than the Orwellian level of techno-fascism you're about to witness is that there is only one state that currently has a law on the books to protect people from it. So please drop a like and subscribe to help get this message out there to more people. And really quick, before we hear from the secretary himself, I want to give you some background information on just how insane this story is.
That operates license plate reader cameras broke state law, according to the Illinois Secretary of State. Flock Security allegedly shared data with federal border officials, violating a state law that bars data from being shared from immigration or abortion-related investigations. The company is used by hundreds of police departments in Illinois and operates cameras in dozens of major cities, including Peoria, Springfield, and many Chicago suburbs. Flock Security has admitted they didn't have proper data sharing tools, but denies the attorney's breaking of the state law.
Now, I'm no legal expert, but it seems to me that that's a pretty clear violation of the Illinois state law. But what's even more egregious is the fact that the Customs and Border Patrol had access to more than 80,000 Flock AI cameras nationwide alone. This one company, Flock Safety, gave CPB access to 80,000 AI cameras. And while Flock said it has paused all federal pilots after police departments said they didn't realize they were sharing access with Customs and Border Patrol, that seems like a pretty monumental oversight to have.
If you're an American, you've been probably seeing a whole bunch of these things. And in some places, they're so common that you don't even notice them. They just blend into the background like they're trees or streetlights. And you've probably correctly assumed that they're recording traffic. They're also recording and logging license plates and using AI image recognition. But what if I told you that they are, in fact, not owned by your local police department or your local government, but are licensed to them by a third-party startup? And all of your vehicle's whereabouts are being tracked by a third-party data broker. What if I also told you that major retail chains are also using them, and they're combining your vehicle's whereabouts with your personal information, your shopping habits, and even your in-store behavior. And some of them are giving that information to law enforcement.
Yeah, Orwellian level shit, which is why we were so honored to get an exclusive interview with seemingly one of the only people fighting back against this right now, Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Janulius.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So I want to jump right in here, and can you just give us the big picture overview of what is going on with this license plate tracker company violating the law in Illinois, and kind of tell us all how it started? Because this was a piece of legislation that your office actually spearheaded back in 2023, correct?
Correct. And to me, this is about data privacy. It's about the erosion of fundamental rights, protecting information that, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, people want protected. Automatic license plate readers do provide assistance to law enforcement for things like carjackings, motor vehicle theft. They can help us with kidnapping. So there is value. However, we want to make sure that this information is being used for the purposes with which it was intended. So we passed legislation that we're very proud of, the first state in the country to do so, to say that this information will only be used for those purposes. It cannot be used for people to track women who are coming to Illinois for illegal abortion, for example, or for immigration purposes. We passed this legislation that we're very proud of. We found out back in June that there was a law enforcement agency in Texas that was using our automatic license plate readers to track a woman who's coming to Illinois for an abortion. Red flags went up. We conducted an audit. And that's where we are now with this audit. We want everyone to know any private company that uses our Illinois automatic license plate readers will be held to the same standard. And I'm hoping that other states pass similar legislation, because this is an incredibly important issue.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember hearing about that story about the Texas woman. Incredibly disturbing stuff. I think we actually covered it on the channel as well. And I wonder if you're able to talk at all about what the company's response has been after you noticed that these violations were happening, that they were doing or giving this information to border enforcement agencies and ICE.
Yes, and again, our law is very clear. These automatic license plate readers will only be used for the purposes with which they're supposed to. So when we found out that they were tracking a woman because of an abortion there in Illinois, we conducted the audit. We subsequently found out that information was being shared with Customs and Border Protection Agency, which again violates not just the law but the spirit of what what this surveillance technology is supposed to be used for.
Right.
So that's where we're at. You know, I try not to be confrontational, but anyone that tries to break the law or breaks the law will be held accountable. Again, this to me is not a partisan issue. Everyone wants their private data protected. And what we're seeing is these private companies are weaponizing this technology to go after innocent people. That is hugely problematic.
Yeah.
And again, the overwhelming response from folks in Illinois and across the country on this issue has been horror, people being really disconcerted with how their data is being used. And again, it's a slippery slope, right? If they
Totally.
track where you go to the grocery store, when you go to the movies, or where folks are going with their families, this can be scary stuff, especially in light of the folks that are in Washington D.C. now with a lot of the power.
Absolutely. I mean, we've covered what Donald Trump is doing with the National Guard in many states, your state included. I wonder to hear, and forgive me if it's a little candid or if you're not able to address too many of the specifics, but I noticed that the company itself, Flock Safety, it seems like they claim they were unaware that these agreements were in place to share the information with border agents. And I just wonder, like, straight up, do you believe them? Was this just like negligence on their part, like a part of a, the Silicon Valley startup company move fast and break things mentality? Or do you see something more sinister here, in your opinion?
Well, I want to be careful because there is an ongoing
Sure.
investigation. I
Sure.
I'm an optimistic, idealistic person by nature. So
Mhm.
I doubt that folks are being sinister. I hope that's not the case. I don't think it's the case. But also, we passed the law for a reason.
Right.
We are here to protect people's data. So, quite frankly, whether it was sinister or whether it was negligent, that's almost irrelevant to me. This is about remedying the situation, making sure it never happens again, making sure people abide by Illinois law, and hopefully other states see what we're doing and also do the same to protect their citizens.
Yeah, and I actually want to dive into that point a little bit more too. It's kind of baffling to me just hearing about this that Illinois was, or seemingly one of the only states that had this protection in place for people. And I wonder, have you seen movement on this ground of other states kind of joining in and making legislation like this? Because it seems like, especially with the rate at which technology increases and AI and companies have the ability to use these technologies, that every state should have a law on the books like this. So has there been movement that you've been able to see elsewhere in the country for these protections to become more normal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that I was surprised that we're the first state in the country to do this.
Right.
Number one. Number two, I think what we're seeing is, especially in light of the news that's taken place over the last couple of weeks, we're seeing municipalities step up and cancel contracts. We're seeing other states look at how they can pass similar legislation because they understand, again, whether you're a blue state or a red state, people want their private data protected. I'm hoping this is, a domino effect where every state starts enacting something similar. And again, the impetus behind this, we are lucky to live in Illinois, which is a safe haven for decency and moral integrity and doing the right thing. So when we found out that our surrounding states were passing legislation to make it a felony, not only for someone coming to Illinois for a legal medical procedure, but it was also a felony for a family member or a friend helping that individual by driving them into Illinois, a felony.
Yeah.
That's one thing, which was very disconcerting.
Sure.
But to think that this automatic license plate reader technology, which again has a purpose, this was not it, to track these people, was absolutely disgusting. That was the impetus behind passing this legislation. I'm proud to live in a state like Illinois where we got it passed with a governor who signed it. And I like to think that this is the tip of the iceberg. And again, the attention that this has gotten nationally over the past week or so, I like to think is a good sign for other states coming on board.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. And I believe, speaking with your chief of staff earlier, there seems to be some movement in Colorado and things as well, which hopefully we'll be able to follow up on. But I guess where we'll kind of close this out, if you have any last thoughts here for viewers at home and people, especially in the current climate, I think this all comes at a time where, people are very in a very heightened emotional state about their own safety, their family's safety. So what can we do, as citizens as well to help prevent some of this type of surveillance via supporting legislation like the ones that you have, or joining in the protests? Because a lot of people that I talk to in the comment section of our videos, they want to fight back and do the things that I think you are empowering people to do here. And so I just wonder, in your personal opinion, what you see as the best way to fight back against this type of surveillance.
Great question. Number one, I'm a big believer in contacting your legislator, reaching out and saying, I don't want my personal data to be collected by these license plate reader companies, especially when I've never broken the law. Reaching out to your legislators, calling your legislators. I'm a big believer in using social media to get this message out. When we tell people that these machines are essentially locating where folks are driving and using that information unlawfully, they are blown away. They're apoplectic. Again, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether you live in Chicago or Southern Illinois, this is a really disgusting behavior. It freaks people out, rightfully so. So I would say helping us get that message out, going on social media, helping us tell the story, people understanding what this legislation does, and making sure that this information isn't used illegally, and having a groundswell of sort of understanding and support is paramount to getting some other states to join us.
Couldn't agree more. And we'll definitely put any resources that your office has down in our description as well, so that if people want to reach out to their local representatives, that they can do that. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing attention to this really, really crucial issue. Thank you for your time. And thank you for the legislation that you are putting in place to protect people of Illinois.
Thanks, man. Thanks for all that you do, and it's great talking to you.
Likewise. Huge shout out to the secretary for the work that he is doing and for joining us on the channel here. But that is just insane to me that Illinois is the only state with a law like this on the books, especially now that Trump has turned the Border Patrol and ICE into his personal Gestapo. And as if all of that wasn't bad enough, this technology can be as flawed as the people who are implementing it.
This Colorado family was being driven to a shopping center in a stolen vehicle, and they would have gotten away with it without cutting-edge technology alerting police of their crime.
Nah, that was actually an OCR error.
Well, this New Mexico woman and her 12-year-old sister were driving to the park with a stolen license plate when AI-enhanced technology allowed police to...
That one was another computer vision error.
Well, yet another car-thieving woman of color caught red-handed.
Nope, just a glitch. This situation keeps happening all over the country. Your tax dollars pay startups to rent AI superpowers to law enforcement. And then the following year, your tax dollars pay the lawsuit settlements when it doesn't work. Flock Safety is a startup that was founded in 2017 that specializes in developing and leasing security cameras that have AI capabilities such as license plate recognition and vehicle identification. And these security cameras feed into databases that law enforcement, private companies, and even private citizens can access and utilize. And if you own a car in the United States, you have unquestionably been logged within one of these databases. It works like this. You drive past a Flock Safety camera and it records an image or video. An image segmentation model or something similar looks for the license plate itself, or a rectangle with some key identifiers like tail lights or a rear window. Once it is confident enough that it found a license plate, it sends a portion of the image to an OCR model, or optical character recognition, which is probably the most widely used type of AI for consumers. For example, it's used in PDFs or any type of automatic data entry, like scanning and cashing checks on your phone with your bank's app. AI like this typically uses a confidence level threshold, so if the OCR model is above, say, 90% sure that your license plate was read accurately, then the information is saved with a location and timestamp on it. It can also classify the make and model of your vehicle and note if there are any bumper stickers or add-ons or cosmetic damage on the vehicle. And this information as well gets stored to that database. A law enforcement officer can then run your license plate and see every single time that your vehicle has been tagged in the database. So if you're in a city that has a lot of these cameras, it pretty much has the same effect as secretly sticking a GPS device on your car. Flock Safety is also happy to provide service to businesses and homeowners associations, and those private clients often allow law enforcement to access the data from their cameras. Then there's the hot list. If law enforcement puts you on the hot list, they are notified every single time that Flock detects you. So it's kind of like having a police tail all day, every day, but without the pesky annoyances of requiring a judicial warrant to target and track a citizen who may not even be suspected of any sort of crime. So now you might be asking, what is there to stop, I don't know, Texas law enforcement tracking women out of state who are suspected of getting illegal abortions? Or how would you prevent a jealous, abusive person who also happens to be a law enforcement officer from using the system to constantly track his ex-girlfriend and her new partner? Well, unfortunately, you wouldn't prevent it, because these are just two of the many examples of things that have actually already happened. Flock Safety has exhibited the usual hyper-aggressive startup behavior that we've all grown accustomed to. Near Orlando, Florida, for example, they installed nearly 100 cameras on public roadways without even notifying the county. And this entire industry sales pitches police departments with their cherry-picked success stories. If we didn't live in a surveillance state, this old lady with dementia would have never been found, or if it weren't for all these cameras, this homicide suspect would have never been taken off the streets and would still be murdering people right now. Had this license plate reader error not led to a mother and her young children being held at gunpoint, that family would have never received a $1.9 million settlement from Aurora, Colorado taxpayers. Weirdly, I couldn't find that example in any of their sales decks. From every single agreement that I've looked up and seen, the police department or local government do not own the camera but pays for their installation, then rents them for an annual subscription fee. And usually this is between $2,000 and $3,000 per camera per year, but apparently there's been a recent price hike that has strained the budgets of some police departments. In all of these agreements, Flock Safety's liability policy is extremely tight and protects them against virtually all claims should something go wrong or an equipment or data error mislead an investigation. And one of the most amusing parts of this agreement is this section that is telling the police department to call 911 and not rely on Flock Safety services in the event of an emergency. Yikes.
Absolutely wild stuff. So please, folks, if you care, and if you made it this far, help us support what Secretary Janulius is doing and help get the word out to your legislative officials to make sure that your state is holding these companies accountable as well. And the best way to do that is to drop a like on this video, subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts so that the algorithm pushes this out to more people. And don't forget to be vocal about all of these things on your own social media platforms, on ours, because the worst thing we can do is not put up a fight. Thanks for watching again, folks. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse. I will see you guys in the next one.